In the Lone Star State, we cherish our freedoms and hold our families dear. But when it comes to healthcare, the challenges we face are as diverse as our people. Every day, Texans grapple with the consequences of bad actors in the medical field. That's why we created Texas Best Docs. We're here to help families protect their loved ones and make informed healthcare decisions. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Texas Best Docs. I'm your host, Kalee Pair, and today we have an enlightening episode focused on ensuring quality, transparency, and accountability in healthcare. We're shining the spotlight on one of the most outstanding orthopedic surgeons in Texas, Dr. Adam Wright. Born and raised in Texas, Dr. Wright has an impressive educational background and is board certified by the American Board of Orthopedic Surgery and specializes in hip and knee replacement surgeries. He utilizes state-of-the-art techniques, including Mako robotic-assisted surgery, custom implants, and minimally invasive methods, allowing patients to go home the same day. Dr. Wright, welcome to Texas Best Docs. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you for having me. What an impressive introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're awesome, and I know a lot about you, but for our listeners and viewers at home, let's start off by getting to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to becoming a doctor.
Sure. So I grew up in San Antonio, born and raised in Texas. My whole family's been here. I'm the oldest of four boys. My third brother had a lot of medical problems, cerebral palsy, lots of issues, and so that involved a lot of care and a lot of contact with the medical system. I was already interested in medicine, so that gave me an opportunity to meet doctors and learn about pathology, and for sure I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I wasn't sure what type until I got into college, and then I realized orthopedics would probably be the right fit for me, but you kind of see all aspects of it during training.
How did you know that it would be the right fit? So was there like an aha moment, or was it kind of just like...
I liked hanging out with the other orthopedic surgeons. I like the patients. Patients are motivated. They want to get better. They come to you with a problem, and almost always you can fix it or make it better.
Yeah, that's cool. And then so once you decide to become an orthopedic surgeon, what's that journey like after that?
So 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 5 years of residency, and 1 year of fellowship.
I just got tired.
Yeah, I mean, I told my wife, she's going to have to support me and be a sugar mama for the first 10 years of our marriage. And then maybe once I get in my 30s, I'll be able to support us.
So, I mean, have you been in Texas the whole time? Have you been other spots?
We've been all over. So we actually met at Texas A&M, and that was where we did undergrad. And then we went to Houston at UT Houston's medical school. Residency was in Temple, Texas at Baylor Scott & White. And fellowship was the Lake Tahoe Arthroplasty Fellowship in Reno, Nevada. So a little bit of time outside Texas, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. And so what brought you back here then?
Family, being around family, and Texas is a great place to be. It's home. It's home for both of us. She grew up in Dallas. I grew up in San Antonio. So we just look for any place off of 35 close to both families as much as we could be.
And so where did you land then here in Texas?
We are in the Plano area, Castle Hills neighborhood. We love it. We're never leaving. This is a great place to be. I love my patients. I love being close to family. Wonderful place.
So how long now have you been practicing here in the Plano area?
I've been here since 2020.
2020?
Which is a very rough time to move back and start a practice. Yeah. And, nobody knows who you are, and my practice specifically focuses on older patients who weren't getting out.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. That's pretty interesting.
Unless you knew somebody, it's hard to figure out where to go. How do you find a doctor? How do you know if you have a good doctor? And so, Google reviews, talking to friends, that's kind of how most people will make contact with the medical system at this point.
And that's really what Texas Best Docs is here to kind of help with, because I think now more than ever post-COVID, people, are living far away from their families, or they're moving to different locations, and you don't know where you're going. You just kind of search, okay, I need my hip to be figured out. And whatever comes up on Google, you're not really researching anything else. So
well, and we run into that too. My family's still back in San Antonio. So when I'm trying to recommend doctors, if they lived here, I have a huge network of people I know personally. But out there, I want to make sure that they're actually going to someone who's competent, but who I know is doing the right things ethically and has been a good provider the entire time they've been out.
So, if like your family, what would you tell your family, or what would you tell the listeners at home, like good questions or things that they need to know to ask, or what questions should they be asking their doctor to make sure they're finding the right fit?
I think it's important to get to know your doctor and who they are, their priorities, and tell them what you're trying to do. What do you hope to accomplish with this procedure or this surgery? I also think it's important to make sure that who you're going to is an expert. If you live in a small town, there may not be that many options, but in a big city, you don't want to see somebody who's a casual hip replacement specialist. You want to make sure that they're doing that every day or every week, and that's something that's in their wheelhouse. It's uncomfortable to maybe question a doctor, but remember, you're going to be living with the result of that surgery for the rest of your life. So it's important to speak up for yourself to make sure that they're the right person for you. And if you just don't have the right feeling about it, that's okay. Listen to that. I also think it's important to seek multiple opinions, especially if it's a big life-changing surgery. Make sure that the person you're speaking to is the one that you feel most comfortable doing that surgery.
So what question would you say they should ask to find out, speaking knee and hip replacements, what's the question? Okay, to ask them on how many surgeries they've done, or what is that?
I think that's a great question. Okay. How many surgeries have you done? Have you done a surgery like this one before? What are you worried about for this surgery, or for me specifically? What complications could happen? A question patients ask me a lot is, what is your success rate, or what is your complication rate for specific complications? I think all those are excellent questions.
Yeah. And do you like it when patients ask that, or
I do
kind of encourage it?
I do.
Questions for me?
Actually, that's kind of how I end most clinic appointments, to say anything else that you need from me, because I want to end with an open floor to make sure that all our questions are answered. I think patients really ask good questions if you give them the chance to. I think there's a statistic that doctors interrupt by the first 20 seconds of a conversation. So I like to let patients just start talking and go through, and then let them finish with the floor.
So how do you, since we're here with Texas Best Docs, how do you know the co-founders of Texas Best Docs?
So Barry Howell is the CEO of our practice. I have known him for a year, but he has an excellent reputation throughout the DFW community, is very well connected, and I've known of him for many years.
And, we've asked you to come on this podcast to highlight, because there's so many good doctors out there, you being one of them. But why do you think what they're doing with the website and the subscription that you can get with tracking doctors, why do you feel like that is so important?
I think it's important for really every level of healthcare consumption. I think it's important for the lay person who's going and looking for a doctor to make sure that not only do they have maybe a good personality and good results that you see on Google, but does the board think that they are appropriate to continue to care for patients? I also think it's important from our standpoint. I know several surgeons that have good outcomes around this area who have had some very bad outcomes, or some bad past things that patients might want to know about. And so it's important to have that information. We live in an information age where so many things are available, but you may not know how to get it. What's great about Texas Best Docs is it brings all the information that you would want to need all into one source for you.
So it doesn't necessarily make you feel, as a doctor, having that information out there. I mean, obviously, you don't have any issues.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
I think all of us want to stand behind our record. And if you don't think you can stand behind your record, you should find another profession.
I couldn't have put it better myself. That's a good way to go about it. And, you're a doctor, you refer patients a lot. So another part of Texas Best Docs is that you as a doctor can track physicians that you refer patients to. Explain how that makes you feel, or what you like about that or dislike about that.
I love being able to have the information brought to me. It's a busy job being a doctor, and you have your patterns of who you refer to, who takes care of your patients. And if something comes up, I may not be checking into things all the time, but this will allow me to know if something is happening to one of my referring doctors, that they've either gotten into trouble one way or another.
And, let's separate you from doctor now. And as a husband, as a brother, as a son, as a father, number one, what is this, change hopefully in healthcare to be able to see this stuff mean to you?
This gives me the assurance that when I'm recommending a doctor for my parents back home in San Antonio, even though they're hundreds of miles away from me, that they're already pre-vetted to an extent. Even though I don't know that doctor, I can trust that they're going to be taken care of very well.
Yeah. And, you have, 4 children, and finding them the right pediatricians and being able to make sure they're taken care of. One of the things that I've learned through, Texas Best Docs is that there are some doctors out there that have been practicing for 30 plus years and have had clean records for, 20 of those. And now all of a sudden, ding, something happens. So being able to track and make sure that nothing is going on behind the scenes.
Exactly. And you can see what the board has reported and what has happened. Sometimes you can look at it and say, that's not a big deal.
We're cool.
We all understand somebody makes a complaint that may or may not be legitimate. Or sometimes you can look at something and say, well, that's important to know. I'm really glad that I have seen that.
Yeah, does that happen a lot where there's like actions where the board's looking into it because there's been complaints that are kind of just like, are you serious?
The board is required to look into every complaint, whether or not it's legitimate or not. And you can kind of read between the lines on whether or not something is important or whether it's just a mandatory investigation.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, do you have any other final thoughts, whether about, patients and what they should be, asking and make sure they're advocating for themselves, or about the Texas Vet Docs? Do you have anything else to
Sure.
add?
I can comment on both. I think it's really important for patients to speak up and have your voice and make sure that the doctor is listening to you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you feel like your questions aren't being acknowledged or answered appropriately, find somebody else. So many of us love what we do. We love to take care of people. So if you feel like your doctor is not listening to you, or your personalities just don't mix, that's okay. It's okay to go somewhere else. It's okay to get another opinion. And any good doctor will encourage you to do that just to make sure that you feel comfortable. So open your mouth, ask the questions, bring a friend with you or a family member. Having multiple sets of eyes and ears is always important. And for Texas Best Docs, this is a great resource. It's pretty easy to use. So I would encourage patients and their families to get on there, try it. Most of the time, the doctor that you're seeing does not have any nefarious past. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But you just want to have that assurance that everything's okay.
I have a question. How many hip and knee surgeries do you do a year?
I do between 300 and 400 hip and knee replacements every year. The average orthopedic surgeon does 8. So just for reference.
And there you go, folks. Yeah, that is pretty amazing. So it's important to ask that, because I would never even have known that. And that kind of sets you apart, I feel like, in a good way.
I had 6 today. So
yeah,
it's good to go to somebody who they know what they're doing. They're not scared of the hard cases that come their way because they've seen it before.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Wright. I really appreciate you being here. If you guys have any questions at home for him and would like to comment below, we would happy to do so. So make sure you put them in the comments. You can send us a direct message as well. So thank you for sharing not only your experiences, but your insights and everything. I think that it really is helpful coming from an actual doctor on how this all works. So if this is the first podcast that you are watching or listening to, if you are wondering, okay, what is Texas Best Docs, make sure to look at our previous videos, because we do have one that describes exactly what's going on, and we look at the website and talk through it. So make sure you do that. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening and tuning into Texas Best Docs. Don't forget to visit www.texasbestdocs.com to get started on finding the best healthcare for you and your family. And as we said before, you can stay informed in your healthcare decisions for less than a Netflix subscription, right? If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to reach out to us. Again, remember, you can comment below. Follow us on any of our social media at Texas Best Docs on all social platforms. You've been listening to Texas Best Docs with Kalee Pair and Dr. Adam Wright. If you'd enjoy today's episode, please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you have any questions you'd like answered on future podcasts, please make sure that you send those to us or comment below. Until next time, take care and stay healthy, Texans.